It's news time. Information is power. The current. The news headline. Nnamdi Kanu, why federal government shouldn't blame for filing fresh charges against the IPOB leader. Reactions have continued to throw the recently amended charges which the federal government filed against Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the outlawed secessionist group, Indigenous People of Biafra, otherwise known as IPOB. We recall that on Monday, January 17, 2022, reports emerged revealing the federal government legal team have filed fresh 15-count charges of terrorism against Kanu. Since the report emerged, thousands of Nigeria from different parts of the country have continued to react differently to it. According to Kanu's legal team, such a move by the Nigerian government is a tactic to frustrate the trial of the IPOB leader, who is currently in the custody of the Department of State Services. We recall that this is not the first time that the government team will be filing amended charges against Nnamdi Kanu. Oftentimes, this has led to adjournment of the case to later dates. Arguably, it is the adjournments that follow such action by the government team that led Kanu's team to allege that such action is a tactic to frustrate the trials of their clients. However, I am proud of the opinion that the government should not be blamed for filing terrorism charges against Nnamdi Kanu. This is because the government team is doing what they believe will ensure they prove their points before the court. As a result of this, it may be wrong to question any approach that the government team decided to adopt, so long as they do it within the ambit of the law. It is a well-known fact that the plaintiff in any case is allowed by the law to file amended charges or additional motion which he believes could help secure a favorable judgment. Arguably, each of the two legal teams is more concerned about emerging victorious at the court. As such, whatever legal methods that the opponent adopts should not be condemned. Regardless of how good your intentions might be, no matter how hard you try, you can't please everyone. Sad how some people have decided to be so toxic on the government, no matter the pro-people's policies or Shiomole wrote on Twitter. Meanwhile, the Igbo sociocultural group Ohanaeze Ndigbo has demanded a political solution to be deployed in resolving the matter of the detained leader of the Indigenous People of Biafra IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu. The President General of the group, George Obiozor, while making a case for the Biafra agitator, said that if the federal government could grant amnesty to repentant Boko Haram terrorists and the Niger Delta militants, there is nothing stopping it from considering the case of Nnamdi Kanu and also that of Sunday Adeyemo Igboho. Speaking on Thursday during an interview on Channels Television, Obiozor argued that the Igbo people are not at war with the rest of Nigerians, urging that President Muhammadu Buhari needs to reconsider his stand not to release the detained IPOB leader. He said that Nnamdi Kanu, who is currently facing charges bordering on treasonable felony and terrorism, deserves to be given another chance and forgiven, as force is a dangerous option for everyone at this particular period in time. And that is one of the reasons why the former national chairman of the All Progressive Congress, APC, that is Comrade Adams Oshiomhole, had actually, spoken to defend President Muhammadu Buhari in this case, saying that he is actually doing his very best, and that those people that are criticizing, most of his regime are people that have always found pleasure in being toxic about the federal government of Nigeria.
Muhammadu Buhari was seen as the nemesis of corrupt politicians, and that image, which could not help him during previous electoral attempts, was capitalized on by the Southwest media to burnish and garnish a political reputation against an admittedly helplessly gutless and hapless leadership of Goodluck Jonathan. But history is a mercilessly ruthless judge. While previously clueless and corrupt, Jonathan has become a beautiful bride of international diplomacy and democratic behavior. The anti-corruption warrior is now mired in a government that, by its own reckoning, has become the most inept and corrupt in our history. To be fair, the president did not promise much in the electioneering campaigns in both elections. Throughout the campaigns, his mantra, repeated like a broken record, was fighting corruption, insurgency, and improving the economy. His performance on all three counts is suspect, dubious, and undistinguished. Most people would even declare him a failure. By its own admission, even the government does not point to any of them as its main achievement, which is curious. To it, their greatest achievement is building infrastructure, which was a kind of an afterthought, as it never featured in its 2015 election campaigns. The curiosity is, how could one major in a subject on which he was not tested in an examination? On its greatest failure, agreement will be as difficult to reach. Insecurity has become a major menace in the country, and no part of its nation is spared. But because that is not his greatest failure, nor is the crumbling economy, which he was never given a chance in the first place. It has never been this bad since the war, and although President Muhammadu Buhari was elected to deal with the problem of insurgency in the northeast, his regime was added the nefarious activities of herdsmen and now bandits, who have not only made life brutally short and unbearable for most rural communities, especially farmers who have abandoned their farms, which has led to the threat of food scarcity and hunger in the country. The Nigerians are paying such humongous price on account of corruption in the public service in a government that promised to stamp it out is a monumental indictment of President Muhammadu Buhari and his legitimacy for the office. The paradox is that for every extra kobo that goes into fictitious projects and salaries, there is a corresponding denial of public-oriented spending to improve people's lives. Also, such increase in recurrent spending is directly responsible for the unending borrowing by this government to fund its acclaimed infrastructure development in a situation that mortgages the future of the country and the next generation. Consequently, the reason we are borrowing is not entirely because there is no money, as government has consistently maintained, but because its employees are siphoning the money into their private pockets at the expense of the generality of Nigerians. The obvious implication of this development is that the current anti-corruption strategy is defective and inappropriate, thinking that the main culprits in corruption are the political office holders. This view featured heavily in Buhari's approach in dealing with members of the Second Republic political class. But it is simply untenable because the political class does not have accounting powers, which belongs to the career civil servants. So it is financially impossible for the politicians to steal money from government coffers without the active involvement and collusion of the bureaucrats themselves. Also, for a minister or commissioner to steal a dime, the bureaucrat must be involved. Entire budgets of the country through the manners of expenditure. They also prepare the budget. Therefore, we have to revise and change the approach and train searchlights more on the public servants to actually get to the root of the matter. And also, focusing on the few political office holders is a way